What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. 500 Bushwhacker time. The way this is configured right now, it has a 7.5-inch barrel. This is a TI Heavy Pro muzzle brake on it. Trust me, you need that brake to shoot this gun. That's what makes this gun shootable. But this thing is an absolute monster. I know it's been argued back and forth a little bit because of the whole production revolver thing versus custom revolver thing. But for the most part, as far as I know, at the time of the making of this video, this is the most powerful revolver cartridge in the world, the 500 Bushwhacker. There might be one or two other very obscure, weird things, and there may be a lot of other things out there that claim to be handguns, but pound for pound, the way this thing uses its powder and projectile and case and everything in sync with itself, this is the most powerful. When you calculate the foot-pounds and then the speed, this thing is actually the fastest revolver cartridge in the world. And today we're pretty much doing viewer requests. I've been holding on to some 700 grain rounds for a while now. I've been reluctant to shoot them because they are going to be recoil monsters, but people really want to see what happens when you put a 700 grain through the Bushwhacker, kind of like when you put the 700 grain Underwoods through the 500 Magnum. All right, we're not going to go straight for the 700 right off the rip. We're going to gradually increase the grain weight. I'm going to get some good footage for you so you can see the difference in recoil between these rounds here. We're going to start with, by the way, these are all Bengal Bullets. So we have a 310 grain Bengal Bullet. That's Hardcast lead. We have 400 grain Bengal Bullet. We have a 510 grain Bengal Bullet, a 612 grain Bengal Bullet, and then we go up to this 700 grain monster. Now, I know the last time I shot a 612 grain, that was a handful. The 700 grain has got to be worse, but it's all fun. I love these kind of guns. It's definitely going to be a handful, but it's going to be worth it. I know that the 612 and the 700 look a little bit like they're the same cartridge, but they're not. This one's just set a little bit deeper in the case. Hopefully our chronograph works today. It's always a crapshoot with the sunlight we have. As we're trying to get those velocities so that we can calculate foot-pounds, which are always awesome out of the Bushwhacker, you guys are going to see that this thing is no joke. We're going to be aiming at this 1/2-inch AR500 steel. Not from a company AR500, that's just what it is. But you guys are going to hear a definitely good ring off of that steel, I'm sure. I did just install a brand new front sight on this, so I don't know exactly where my point of aim, point of impact will be, but we'll find out on the first shot. All right, we're going to start with a 310 grain Bengal Bullet. That's the lightest option I have other than solid copper. That's the Hardcast lightest option that I have. So let's see how it rings the steel. Let's see what kind of velocity we get, and let's see how it looks with recoil. I'm going to let it ride upwards so you guys get a good representation of it. That was a good hit. I definitely should have, I have one pair of ears in. I should have had my other ones in. 2462 was our velocity. Darn good hit on steel. Darn good foot-pounds. And that one's pretty manageable. All right, I remembered my second pair of ear pro this time. This thing, the brake sends the gases right past your head, so don't forget that. And make sure everybody around you has ear pro. We have the 400 grain now. I believe it's just a 400 grain, or close. So that one's gonna hit a little harder, jump a little harder, might move a little slower. Let's check it out. And I'm letting it stop right where it rises so you can see the rise on it. We did have an error in the chronograph. Sorry about that. It's just that bad time of day, but more recoil for sure, and thumped the steel pretty good. All right, let's work up to the 510 grain now. This is definitely getting into the territory of boomy. Unfortunately, we just seem to be having a bad chronograph day. That was also a bad reading. and smacked that target hard and definitely had some recoil. I'm trying to stop right where it lets itself stop, so you see it. Should be getting pretty impressive right there with that jump up. All right, now we're moving up to a definite monster. I've experienced this monster a couple times. 612 grains. This thing is no joke. This is gonna give a pretty good flip. It's still all manageable. I don't know why so many people think that this thing is unmanageable. I'm not even that big frame of a person, but I can handle it just fine. You're gonna see this is a whooper on the hands, but still shootable. I hope. I aimed a little bit lower. I forgot I got to aim a little higher, so that's why I hit the plate just a little bit lower, and that was actually very shootable. Now we have the 700 grain. I have not shot this one before. I cannot imagine that this one's going to be exactly pleasurable, but we're going to try it. So let's see what happens here. I'm going to get a good grip on the gun, but I also have to let it ride up. As long as you don't fight these guns too much, they rise up and they do a lot of the work for you. They just kind of bend up with your wrist. If you fight them real hard, that's when they start to send the shockwave down your hand. But here we go. That was fun, that was cool, that was definitely a 700 grain pill. You see where this gun has landed all the way up here in the air. That says 1591. I'm pretty sure that the previous chronograph reading was an error of some sort, because that's just way too high a velocity for a 600 grain pill. But 1591, that could sound about right. And yeah, like I said, shootable. The gun's still intact. Some people seem to think that this is really too crazy of a cartridge, but this thing has been shot multiple times. I've never had a problem with it. And this thing's not abusive. My 44 Magnum, Smith & Wesson, model 69, the combat Magnum, that thing shoots 44 Magnum and it does not handle it well. That gun is definitely miserable to shoot. I would rather shoot the Bushwhacker than shoot my 44 Magnum snub nose. That's the truth. Now, I do have 2 carpal tunnel surgeries. My hands are a wreck from work, but I'm still able to shoot it. I just actually almost tried to cut my trigger finger off, and then I tried to smash it off about 6 or 7 months later, and I'm able to pull the trigger and it doesn't hurt too much. So definitely shootable, especially in the lighter grain weights. The solid coppers in the like 300 to 400 grain range, 275 grain, the Barnes bullets, those things are an absolute dream to shoot. So don't be afraid of the gun. It's very safe in my opinion. You're able to reload it, save a little bit of money on your ammunition, and when you get into reloading it and when you realize the recipes that are used and the powders that are used, the combinations that are used, you realize that it's not a dangerous gun. I know it seems like it's this big, wild, crazy thing, and it does throw some fireballs and it does have some recoil. But when you start to understand, especially through reloading, or at least knowing the recipes, this thing is efficient in the way that it uses its powder, and it's almost not able to be overloaded with the powder choices that are being used. I've seen a lot of people mentioning in the comment sections of the Bushwhacker videos about all the gas that escapes the break. They say unburnt powder. I would have to disagree. I think that the powder probably does burn pretty efficiently. However, you will have some unburnt powder come out of just about any cartridge here and there. A lot of what you're seeing is pure gas, and that is what's supposed to happen. The gas is supposed to vent out of here, therefore taming the recoil of the gun and pushing the bullet. Every gun has gas behind it, so the bullets already leave, or every bullet has gas behind it. After the bullet leaves, you're seeing those gases vent out of the side. You do see some stuff coming here out of the cylinder gap, coming out of there, a bunch of fire and flame. Again, that's with any revolver. You can't exactly take that away. But as you see from the chronograph, and as you see the impacts, these bullets boogie woogie. And one more comment I want to address, and this is not to pick on comments, this is just to help people understand what the cartridge and the firearms are all about. They comment that, wow, that's a lot of wasted energy out of the revolver. Could you imagine if you harnessed all that energy in a rifle? The truth of the matter is that TII Armory, when they made this, and I'm not speaking from them, this is just from what I understand, that this was originally designed to be a revolver cartridge. They were trying to make revolver cartridges that were huge and powerful and outdo the 500 Magnum, because you're able to with the cylinder space here in the Magnum Research BFRs. They just decided to utilize what was already there. And as far as the question of a rifle, of course you can put it in a rifle. We had to. If it works good in a handgun, then yeah, naturally we would want to know what it does in a rifle. We have a Thompson Center Encore, chambered in, of course, 500 Bushwhacker, the same brake on the front of it. This thing is a mean beast. You definitely get a good velocity increase. It is pretty cool. Check out the videos we already have about it, and also stay tuned to the channel because it's part of our straight wall hunting cartridge series that we're doing right now. This thing is definitely capable of harvesting deer. Some people may say that's way too much power. No, with the certain loadings, a certain proper bullets like Barnes XPB 275 grain, perfect for deer. It will absolutely lay them down without over penetrating, in my opinion. We're gonna make a video about it because I'm pretty sure, I have a good feeling, I'm gonna nail a deer with this rifle and with that pistol. And I do need to mention real quick something about the 700 grain and possibly the 610 grain loadings. I do not believe that these are actually available from T2 as loaded ammunition. I'm pretty sure that the Bengal Bullets themselves are available as projectiles for reloading, but I don't believe that they chambered this 700 grain round, not as a commercial loading. I do not believe, at least not at this time. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed these types of videos. If you like these types of videos, check out our playlist. We have a ton of videos on the 500 Bushwhacker, 400 Legend, 10mm, all sorts of stuff. We play around with some big bore things. We really like to have fun with guns. We're not just into boring things. It's not your typical channel, I promise you. Thank you for watching this video, and until we see you next time, stay safe, have fun, and keep shooting. Maybe even a 500 Bushwhacker.